RJ with truckerchurch.com. Today I'm going to be going through 2 Chronicles 15. And as always, I'm going to read through the entire passage first, then go back around, pull out a key verse that struck out as important to me, and then go back line by line, kind of do a systematic commentary, I guess, if you will. And that's the process for Trucker Church each week. This is week 1, November 9th, 2024. And let's just get right into it. 2 Chronicles 15. Now, the Spirit of God came on Azariah, the son of Oded, and he went out to meet Asa and said to him, "Listen to me, Asa, and all Judah and Benjamin. The Lord is with you when you are with him. And if you seek him, he will let you find him. But if you forsake him, he will forsake you. For many days Israel was without the true God, and without a teaching priest, and without law. But in their distress they turned to the Lord God of Israel. Then they sought him, and he let them find him. In those times there was no peace to him who went out, or to him who came in, for many disturbances afflicted all the inhabitants of the land. Nation was crushed by nation, and city by city, for God troubled them with every kind of distress. But you, be strong and do not lose courage, for there is reward for your work." Now, when Asa heard these words and the prophecy which Azariah the son of Oded the prophet spoke, he took courage and removed the abominable idols from all the land of Judah and Benjamin, and from the cities which he had captured in the hill country of Ephraim. He then restored the altar of the Lord, which was in front of the porch of the Lord. He gathered all Judah and Benjamin, and those from Ephraim, Manasseh, and Simeon who resided with them, for many defected to him from Israel when they saw that the Lord his God was with him. So they assembled at Jerusalem in the 3rd month of the 15th year of Asa's reign. They sacrificed to the Lord that day 700 oxen and 7,000 sheep from the spoil they had bought. They entered into the covenant to seek the Lord God of their fathers with all their heart and soul. And whoever would not seek the Lord God of Israel should be put to death, whether small or great, man or woman. Moreover, they made an oath to the Lord with a loud voice, shouting with trumpets and with horns. All Judah rejoiced concerning the oath, for they had sworn with their whole heart and had sought him earnestly, and he let them find him. So the Lord gave them rest on every side. He also removed Maacah, the mother of King Asa, from the position of queen mother, because she had made a horrid image as an Asherah. And Asa cut down her horrid image, crushed it, and burned it at the brook of Kidron. But the high places were not removed from Israel. Nevertheless, Asa's heart was blameless all his days. He brought into the house of God the dedicated things of his father, and his own dedicated things, silver and gold and utensils. And there was no more war until the 35th year of Asa's reign. So, that is 2 Chronicles 15. So, as I read through this, the verse that stuck out to me was right here. It's verse 7. It says, "But you be strong and do not lose courage, for there is reward for your work." So this is the verse that I decided to study and focus on and actually memorize this week. So 2 Chronicles 15:7, "But you be strong and do not lose courage, for there is reward for your work." But you be strong and do not lose courage, for there is reward for your work. I just thought that was a verse that stuck out to me, and it's one that I wanted to plant in my mind, conscious and subconscious, and memorize it this week. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time every day just focusing and memorizing that verse. Now let's get right back into it, starting at the top here with verse 1. "Now the Spirit of God came on Azariah, the son of Oded, and he went out to meet Asa and said to him, 'Listen to me, Asa, and all Judah and Benjamin. The Lord is with you when you are with him.'" Well, first thing we need to understand here is that this is what I call, well, it's not what I call, it's what it is. This is a conditional statement. The Lord is with you when you are with him. That little word when is conditional. It means the Lord is with you when you are with him. It's conditional. So if you want the Lord to be with you, you need to be with him. That's on you. And it continues on. It says, if you seek him. Again, that's a conditional statement. If you seek him, he will let you find him. But if you forsake him, he will forsake you. So if you want to be found by God and not forsaken by him, you need to seek him and not forsake him. Again, that's 100% your responsibility based on what you desire and what you want. If you seek him and if you forsake him, that's your choice. And then verse 3, it says here, for many days Israel was without the true God and without a teaching priest and without the law. But in their distress, now remember here, it says when in your distress, isn't this often the case? In your distress, they turn to the Lord God of Israel. I'm sure many of us have heard of these guys in war. I always remember the Band of Brothers movie, and you have these guys in the foxhole, and you've heard these things. It's called a foxhole prayer. So, God, if you get me out of this, I'll honor you, I'll obey you, I'll serve you the rest of my life. But typically, that's when we come to see the Lord. That's the same story with the prodigal son. When the prodigal son went off and said, Dad, I want you to give me my inheritance. I don't want to be part of your family anymore. I want to go do my own thing. So when he had all the money, he went off into a foreign land. He started squandering it on women and wine and just doing what he wanted to do and living high in the hog. But it wasn't until he was face down in the muck in the pig pen in his distress where he came to his senses. He said, what in the world am I doing with my life here? Came to his senses and went back to his father. And the father obviously welcomed him with opened arms, was very glad to have him back. But so often that's the case. It takes difficulty, it takes struggle, it takes suffering, it takes distress before we come to the point where we're like, okay, God, uncle, I'm ready to hear what you have to say and I'm open to it. Now, for me personally, that happened back when I was 23, 24 years old. I was working for a bank in Indianapolis, Indiana. Young yuppie, making good money, single, chasing everything that wiggled. And a guy came in and robbed us and actually took me hostage at gunpoint. And fortunately, obviously, let me go. And I was able to kind of recalibrate and look at what I was doing with my life. But it was in that distress where I said, okay, what am I doing? Who is this God? What am I really going to be about in life? And it was in the distress where I turned and I was open to seeing and hearing what God had to say. So that's there in verse 4. But in their distress, they turned to the Lord God of Israel. Then they sought him and he let them find him. So in those times, there was no peace to him who went out or to him who came in. For many disturbances afflicted all the inhabitants of the lands. Nation was crushed by nation, and city by city, for God troubled them. Okay? So oftentimes we think it's somebody else, or, a loving God would never have, anything bad happen to us. He wouldn't cause us trouble. It says right here in verse 6, nation by nation, city by city, it was God that troubled them with every kind of distress. So they're in this stressful situation. It was in their distress that they sought the Lord. But then he goes on to say in verse 7, but you, now remember, this is in distress, but you be strong and do not lose courage, for there is reward in your work. In your distress, in the struggle, in the suffering, you continue to be strong. Don't lose courage. Why? Because there's a reward in that work. And I just thought that was the key verse of this passage. That's why I wanted to memorize that one. Interesting thought here. Why do we lose courage and become weak and lose heart? It seems to me when the work isn't worth it. Why bother? I mean, in other words, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. If we're working, we're in this distress and we're not seeing the results, it's easy to give up. Say, what's the point of this? But, it's like diet or exercise. It takes 30 years to get out of shape and put on the weight. And then you start a diet and exercise program. And if you don't see results right away, you get discouraged in that distress. You're like, what's the point? I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing. And the verse is pretty clear here. There's reward in your work. Just stick with it. And eventually you will get, in time, in the proper time, you will get the reward. Um, it's kind of like planting seeds in a garden or in in the field. You plant the seeds, you water them, you give them good sunshine and air. You can't pick the fruit right away. It takes the season. It takes the spring, the summer, and then eventually in the fall you get the harvest. So you have to give yourself some time in the suffering and working. So it's important to understand that we just continue to work in the difficulty and the suffering. And remember, everything of value is almost always on the other side of difficulty. Things that are simple and easy generally aren't as valuable that things are a little harder to get after, and they take some suffering and some sacrifice. Let's go here to verse 8. Now when Asa heard these words and the prophecy which Azariah the son of Oded the prophet spoke, he did take courage, and he removed the abominable idols from all the land of Judah and Benjamin, and from the cities which he had captured in the hill country of Ephraim. So once he heard these words, he said, okay, I am going to take courage, and I'm going to put forth the work. So he took courage and removed the things that were distracting him from seeking the Lord and the people of the land. And in this specific case, it was the abominable idols. It's the things that they worshipped other than the true God. And he removed all of those things from the city and the hill country, and he restored the altar of the Lord, which is in front of the porch of the Lord. He then gathered all Judah and Benjamin, and those from Ephraim, Manasseh, and Simeon, who resided with them. For many defected to him from Israel when they saw that the Lord, his God, was with him. Now, it's interesting to note that this was a period of after the kingdom had been divided. So Israel was one kingdom under King Saul to start with, and then it was succeeded by King David, and then eventually King Solomon. And then the kingdom split in two, basically because of political unrest and taxation. So you had two kingdoms. You had the northern kingdom, which was Israel, and the southern kingdom, which was Judah. Now, the northern kingdom in Israel, all of their kings, I believe there were 19 kings, every one of them were bad. The southern kingdom of Judah, there were 19 kings and I believe one queen. Some of them were good, some of them were bad. Obviously here Asa was a good king. But it's interesting that it says here, many defected to him from Israel. Remember, Israel was the northern kingdom. All the kings were bad. But many of the people came to him from Israel's kingdom when they saw that the Lord God was with him. So those people saw what was going on with Asa in the southern kingdom of Judah, and they started following him. So they assembled at Jerusalem in the 3rd month of the 15th year of Asa's reign. They sacrificed to the Lord that day 700 oxen, 7,000 sheep from the spoil that they had bought, and they entered into a covenant to seek the Lord, the God of their fathers, with all their heart and soul. And whoever would not seek the Lord God of Israel should be put to death. Now, there's 2 points I want to bring up here. First is that they sought the Lord God with their whole heart, their whole soul. They were not divided. They had their whole being was about seeking the Lord. And then they were serious about those people that were not with the God of Israel. And in this case, they actually put them to death. Now, here in this day, church age, we don't go around putting people to death. That's not what we do. But the point here is that we need to be serious about the things that are distracting us and keeping us from having that good relationship with the Lord. And we need to be so serious that we need to put those things to death. And everybody's different, what they're struggling with, and what your distractions are, or where your mind gets, where you're double-minded on things. You just need to be serious about that. Stop playing games with it and kind of petting it like it's a little, little plaything. Kill it. Get rid of those things and get it out of your life. And so anyway, put to death those things, whether small or great, or man or woman. I mean, they didn't care who it was that was distracting them. If they didn't seek the Lord, boom, they were gone. Verse 14 continues on. Moreover, they made an oath to the Lord with a loud voice, with shouting and trumpets and with horns. All Judah rejoiced concerning the oath, for they had sworn with their whole heart and had sought him earnestly, and he let them find him. Here, that's repeated again. They sought him, and he let them find him. So the Lord gave them rest on every side. So the distress that they had, as soon as they turned to the Lord and started seeking him, the Lord gave them rest on all sides. Then he goes on. He also removed Maacah, who was the mother of King Asa, from the position of queen mother because she had made a horrid image as an Asherah. And that was basically a feminine cult goddess of fertility back then. And so King Asa's mother was worshiping this image, and he removed his mother from queen mother position and got rid of that horrid image. So he cut down her horrid image, crushed it, and burned it at the brook of Kidron. But the high places were not removed from Israel. Nevertheless, Asa's heart was blameless all his days. So my takeaway there is, he did a lot of good things. He wasn't perfect because he still allowed those high places to remain. But it goes on to say Asa's heart was blameless all his days. So it's not about perfection. It's not always about accuracy, but it's about intent, and it's about authenticity. Where your heart is, where you're seeking, where your focus is. Verse 18, it says, he brought into the house of God the dedicated things of his father and his own dedicated things, silver and gold and utensils. And there was no more war until the 35th year of Asa's reign. And that ends 2 Corinthians 15. Here are some thoughts that I have from an application standpoint. We go back up to verse 7 again. This is my key verse that I took out of this entire passage. There is reward for your work. Verse 7, there's reward for your work. Here's my point. The application is do more than you get paid for, and eventually you're going to get paid more. People are always watching. They always see value in what you're doing. Honest, effective, and hard work always gets rewarded over time, often in ways you'd never expect. Doors will open for you that you could never open on your own. And here's the other thing. If you keep doing more than what you get paid for, I guarantee you will get a raise. Because if your boss doesn't give you a raise, you know who will give you a raise? His competitor will. Because they're all looking for really good, valuable employees to bring onto their team. So there is reward for your work. It may not be in the exact time that you expect it, but just give it time, let it play out. It will work in your favor. There is reward for your work. So that's my first application, verse 7. Second application point is verse 12. It says, they sought the Lord with all their heart and soul. So go all in with whatever you're doing. If you want to seek the Lord, go all in with that. If you don't, then go all in with something else. But be hot or be cold. Don't be lukewarm. Go all in. Push your chips to the middle of the table. If ever have you seen these World Series of poker games, they're dabbling with the chips and they're playing their hands a certain way. But it's generally when they get to a point where they take all of their chips and they shove them all into the center of the table. These guys stand up, they're getting all animated because they know now it's real. We're either going to win or we're going to lose. But it's when they go all in. They don't have anything left back to play with. They've gone all in. They're totally committed with that. Decide what you want and go all in. Stop dabbling on the fringe and playing games with things. Just go for it. Go all in. It'll animate you, it'll motivate you, and it'll really get you fired up about where it is and what you want in life. So that's my second application point there in verse 12. With your whole heart and soul, be all in. And finally, my third application point here is in verse 13. It's put to death. Don't be casual in how you live. Being casual leads to casualties. Take full responsibility in every aspect of your life and deal harshly with the things that are not truthful and are not helpful to you, your family, and your goals. If there's bugs and there's weeds and there's things attacking your garden and eating your fruit, don't play games with those things. Just kill them. Get rid of them. Kill the bugs, kill the weeds, get them out of your life so you can stay focused on what you're doing and grow the garden and get the profit and all those things of value that you're after. Put to death the thoughts, beliefs, and lies that you have held dear that are keeping you from the reward promised you. So that's all I have today. This is 2 Chronicles chapter 15 in the Old Testament. And again, my name is R.J. Regan. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to email me or give me a call. If you'd like today's show notes, send an email to shownotes@truckerchurch.com. If you'd like a blank copy without the notes and comments, and you just want the passage in Word or PDF format, send that note along as well. Just put passage@truckerchurch.com, and we'll get that emailed right over to you. Next week, we're going to be looking at a different verse, different passage. It's going to be 2 Corinthians 5. And so if you'd like a clean sheet of those verses sent to you in Word or PDF format, again, send an email. I'll have those emailed off to you, and you can study it on your own. So final thoughts on 2 Chronicles 15:7. Again, this is the memory verse. But you be strong and do not lose courage, for there is reward for your work. 2 Chronicles 15:7. This is R.J. Regan. Have a blessed day, everybody. Keep it safe. Keep the rubber down. Keep it between the lines. And we'll see you next week. Take care.